The sheriff locked himself in the deepest shell and threw the key out the next second. When a colleague came in, he found the sheriff staring blankly out the window. He urged the sheriff not to do anything foolish, yet the sheriff still said the words he shouldn't have. However, no one who has said these words has survived. It turns out that in the future world, humans live 1,500 meters underground, and there is a special rule here. Anyone who says the word out will be forcibly sent to the surface to perform cleaning tasks. In the past, those who went to the surface were all poisoned by the toxins in the outside world, but the sheriff still resolutely spoke the forbidden words. It was because of his wife's mysterious death 3 years ago. That day, his wife shouted in the restaurant that the outside world was actually beautiful, and the ruins everyone saw on the screen were images deliberately altered by the leaders to keep people imprisoned here, with no thought of leaving. But seeing no reaction from everyone, he shouted the forbidden words.
Thus, as the sheriff, the husband had to personally send her to the surface world.
The people in the bunker watched the live broadcast of Ellie going out. After Ellie walked out of the bunker, she used wool to wipe the bunker's camera, excitedly thinking that the outside world was finally livable. But unexpectedly, she collapsed to the ground after just a few steps and could no longer move, shattering people's hopes once again. However, only the sheriff knew that before his wife left, she told him that if the outside world was livable, she would turn back to wipe the camera, so there must be another reason for her death. To uncover the truth, the sheriff also said the words wanting to go out. Thus, the mayor put her in protective gear and sent her out. She walked up the long staircase towards the surface world, and when the bunker door opened, she was deeply shocked by the outside world. The surface world was indeed as her wife had said, full of birdsong and fragrant flowers, with birds even flying in the sky. She desperately wanted the people in the bunker to know the truth, so she ran back to the bunker hammer and wiped the dust off with wool. However, the bunker's big screen showed a completely different scene. People saw the sheriff also entering that wasteland. As the sheriff walked step by step towards his wife's body, she also felt dizzy with each step. The sheriff suspected that the real toxin might be hidden inside his own protective suit, so he did something no one had ever done before. He took off his helmet, but his physical condition was already very poor, and soon he collapsed next to his wife, extinguishing the hope of survival outside once again. Only one woman realized that the sheriff must have had a reason for removing his helmet before he died. It turned out that just the night before, she had brought the sheriff to an abandoned cave entrance. Upon entering, they discovered the walls covered with strange patterns and writings, which she seemed accustomed to. Then, she directly led the sheriff through a broken hole to a platform, and after she turned on the lights, they saw an enormous digging machine. She speculated that an accident occurred while this machine was digging downward, which is why the area was sealed with concrete by the people before. She and the sheriff climbed down along the ladder by the wall, took a camera out of a small box, then groped forward along the fishing line, and finally pulled out a cloth bag from behind an iron plate. Inside was the hard drive discovered by the sheriff's wife, containing footage of the real world outside and her handwritten notes from when she cracked the hard drive. When the sheriff saw this, he hurried to take everything away to destroy it, but he was unwilling. He roared, saying that if the sheriff had listened to his wife, perhaps he wouldn't have died. Upon hearing this, the sheriff was momentarily stunned, as his wife had always been his emotional burden. The sheriff hesitated and told Juliet to act discreetly afterward, because if the management found out about this, they would all face the death penalty. After saying this, he took the hard drive and the decryption book and left. Later, he received the news that the sheriff had been exiled. He immediately returned to the platform, not expecting that he had hidden the passage beneath the lower level from the sheriff. He came here intending to investigate further. It turned out that the area below had long been flooded. He had always had a fear of deep water, but with such a big issue, he couldn't worry about that now. He secured the rope, used his headlamp for lighting, and slowly climbed down. Due to his nervousness in midair, the headlamp fell down. He had no choice but to feel his way down bit by bit in the darkness. Just as he was about to reach the water's surface, the generator above the chamber suddenly malfunctioned. As the person in charge of the generator, he rushed back immediately. Seeing the apprentice about to go in to repair it, Ellie, Sly quickly stopped him. When the other person didn't move, he was directly punched to the ground. After the generator crisis was resolved, the supervisor directly found Juliet, blaming her for being absent for 2 hours due to a hangover and for hitting and scolding the apprentice who greatly admired her. At this moment, he mentioned a very serious issue. The bunker's generator has a severe problem that must be completely shut down to resolve. However, the superior said that in the history of the bunker, the generator has never been shut down, and this would leave tens of thousands of people in the bunker without light. Even 5 minutes of darkness would cause panic, and the superior could not bear this responsibility. Juliet insisted that a brief period of darkness is much better than the complete destruction of the generator, leading to the bunker's demise. The final instruction granted to the top level was that they could only continue with simple repairs on the generator. At that moment, the generator suddenly experienced high voltage, causing the entire underground to shake violently. Coincidentally, the mayor happened to be there, and upon learning of the generator's malfunction, the experienced Juliet decisively entered the generator to carry out repairs. Fortunately, after Juliet's repairs, the generator successfully returned to normal pressure, and the mayor witnessed Juliet's proper handling, giving her recognition. The mayor immediately decided to let Juliet take over the position of sheriff and become the new sheriff. Unexpectedly, Juliet refused the offer without a second thought.